I came home to find my house trashed, my wife gone, and a text that would change everything. You can't control me anymore. 3 years later, she showed up at my door crying. Here's what happened. You know that gut feeling when something's wrong? That's exactly what I felt every time Sarah went out partying with her new friends. I wasn't controlling. I just knew these people were bad news. But what happened next? Well, let me tell you how my perfect marriage turned into a nightmare, and the shocking twist that came years later. Back in 2019, I was living what I thought was the American dream. I'm James, a 32-year-old software developer, married to Sarah, the woman I'd met in college. We had a beautiful house in the suburbs of Boston, 2 cars in the garage, and plans to start a family. Everything looked perfect on paper. Sarah worked as a marketing manager at a local firm. She was always the life of the party, while I was more laid back. We balanced each other out. At least that's what I thought. But they say opposites attract until they don't. It all started when Sarah got a promotion at work. New position, new team, new social circle. At first I was thrilled for her. Who wouldn't be? But then came the late nights, the weekend team-building events, and the endless parties. These weren't your typical office gatherings. No, these were wild parties with people I'd never trust. Her new work friends included Mike, a twice-divorced sales rep known for hitting on married women, and Jessica, who seemed to have a new drug story every weekend. One night, Sarah came home at 4 a.m., barely able to stand. I found out they'd been at some underground club downtown. When I expressed my concern, she exploded. You're not my father, James. I'm a grown woman who can make her own decisions. Those words stung, but what hurt more was seeing how she was changing. The Sarah I knew would never. If you're wondering what Jessica revealed, comment, "Spill the tea" below. And yes, I read the comments. Unlike my ex-wife reading our marriage vows. Am I right? Something dark from her childhood that she never told me about. The day everything fell apart was a Friday. I remember because I'd just finished a major project at work and wanted to celebrate with Sarah. I bought her favorite wine, ordered from that Italian place she loved, and even picked up flowers. But when I got home, the doorbell rang on a rainy Tuesday evening. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, there she was, Sarah, 3 years older, somehow looking both exactly the same and completely different. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from our biggest mistakes. Sarah and I spent 6 hours talking that night. She told me about hitting rock bottom, about rehab, about finally facing her demons. I told her about my therapy, about learning to trust again, about the life I'd built without her. Life isn't about the perfect ending. It's about the truth we find along the way. Sarah and I never got back together, but that night gave us both something we needed. Closure. Drop a comment. What would you have done in my shoes? The months after Sarah left were like walking through fog. Every morning I'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there. The house felt massive, empty, haunted by memories of better times. But here's the part I never told anyone until now. I found her credit card statements. While I was working overtime to pay our mortgage, she'd blown through $23,000 in 3 months. Clubs in Vegas, designer clothes, hotel rooms I knew nothing about. Want to know the worst part? Some charges were for 2 rooms on the same nights. "Yo, you need to see this," my buddy Mark texted one night. He'd sent screenshots from Instagram. Sarah, living it up in Miami with that sleazy co-worker Mike. The same Mike she told me was just a work friend. The timestamps, 2 weeks after she left. Quick pause. Drop a like if you've ever had that gut-wrenching moment when social media shows you something you never wanted to see. Here's where it gets real. I started obsessing, checking her social media 20 times a day, looking for clues I missed, signs I should have seen. You know what's crazy? She kept wearing the necklace I gave her in all the photos, the one from our 5th anniversary, right there, next to other men, wearing my necklace. Rock bottom? That came 4 months after she left. I was sitting in my car, outside her new apartment at 3 a.m., just sitting there, not doing anything. Just wanted to know if she was happy. That's when a cop knocked on my window. Quick time out. If life has ever hit you with a plot twist that M. Night Shyamalan would be jealous of, hit that like button. Also subscribe to see if I actually survived that marathon, or if I'm still crawling somewhere on mile 25. Sir, we got a call about a suspicious vehicle. That moment, seeing my reflection in his flashlight, unshaven, dark circles under my eyes, looking like a complete mess, that's when I knew. This wasn't me. I needed help. Dr. Rodriguez didn't sugarcoat anything. First session, she looked me straight in the eyes and said, "James, you're not here because Sarah left. You're here because you never learned to love yourself first." Boom. Truth. Bomb that hit harder than any party ever could. Hey, quick engagement check. Comment truth if you've ever had someone tell you something about yourself that just hits different. You want to know what healing really looks like? It's not Instagram posts about self-care and meditation. It's ugly crying in your car during lunch breaks. It's forcing yourself to join a gym when you can barely get out of bed. It's deleting and re-downloading dating apps 17 times before you actually go on a date. Remember Jessica, Sarah's wild party friend? She messaged me on LinkedIn, of all places, 1 year after everything went down. Turns out, she'd gotten clean and was working through her own 12-step program. Part of making amends was telling the truth about what really happened during those work events. The story she told me, well, let's just say some things are better left in the past. But here's what I will share. Sarah wasn't just partying. She was running from something dark from her childhood that she never told me about. 2 years into my healing journey, I got an email from Sarah's sister, Emma. Sarah had checked into rehab, not for the first time, apparently. Emma said Sarah had been struggling with addiction long before she met me. Our marriage? Just another attempt to outrun her demons. The day before Sarah showed up at my door, I had just finished a marathon. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy who used to get winded walking upstairs ran 26.2 miles. I had a new job, a new outlook, and yes, a new relationship with someone who actually knew how to communicate. Life was good. Really good. That's usually when life throws you a curveball, right? Hold up. If you've ever turned your L's into W's, or at least tried to, before face-planting spectacularly, slam that subscribe button. We're all out here failing upwards together. But because that pain forced me to become someone stronger, someone better, someone who knows his worth. Drop a "if you've ever had to go through hell to find heaven." When Sarah stood on my doorstep that rainy night, she wasn't alone. She had a notebook, an actual physical notebook, filled with all the ways she'd messed up. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment she chose drugs and parties over our marriage. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, mascara running down her cheeks. "I just need you to know that none of it was your fault. You were the best thing in my life, and I was too broken to see it." You want to know the craziest part? Standing there, looking at the woman I once thought was my soulmate, I felt nothing. No anger, no love, no hate. Just peace. Because sometimes the happy ending isn't getting back together. Sometimes it's finally being okay apart. 3 years, thousands of therapy dollars, and 1 marathon later, here's what I learned. Love isn't enough. Timing matters, and sometimes the person you need to save isn't your spouse, It's yourself. Today, Sarah's 2 years sober. We get coffee sometimes, talk about life. She's dating a recovery counselor, someone who understands her struggles. Me? I'm engaged to Claire, a kindergarten teacher who loves true crime podcasts and actually tells me when something's wrong instead of bottling it up. You know what's wild? I'm actually grateful for everything that happened. Not because it didn't hurt, it did, but because that pain forced me to become someone stronger, someone better, someone who knows his worth. Drop a, if you've ever had to go through hell to find heaven. Life's funny, isn't it? Sometimes the things we think will break us end up making us. Sometimes the love we think we need isn't the love we deserve. And sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. Last week, I got a wedding invitation from Sarah. On the back, she'd written a note. Thank you for not giving up on me as a person, even when you had to give up on me as a wife. I'll be there at her wedding, not because I still love her, but because I've learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing peace in the present. Hit subscribe faster than my ex-wife hit the clubs, and drop your own story below, because misery loves company, but healing loves community even more. What's your story of losing love and finding yourself? Share it below. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.